Positive news. Hugh Jackson in charge. Draft right around the corner. The combine is near. I'm just feeling positive, so why not kick off the show with Cleveland Rocks? Welcome to the Doghouse, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns. I'm Andy McNamara, alongside Matt Fleur-Jansen from WKYC Sports in Cleveland. And Matt, really what we're going to be doing on today's show is going over the hunt for a defensive coordinator with in Hugh we trust, Hugh Jackson in charge. We know we got the offense covered. What about that troubling defense and that last-ranked run defense? Very, very troubling. So we'll talk about that. But also we've been teasing it for weeks. We'll start our quarterback draft class analysis. Hugh Jackson came out and said in numerous radio interviews, we need a quarterback, essentially ending Johnny Manziel's time, you'd think, in a Browns uniform. We need a quarterback. So how are you going to get one? Probably through the draft. So we're going to go through several quarterbacks. Today we'll start with the top two ranked ones in Jared Goff and Paxton Lynch. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, Andy. How are you today?
I'm still feeling positive. I'm riding the Hugh Jackson high. Now, about half hour ago, we're taping Tuesday at 3 o'clock, it was announced Jim Schwartz was named defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's off the table. It was rumored that the top two choices for Hugh Jackson for D.C. was Ray Horton, who was here in 2013, and Jim Schwartz. So Schwartz is gone. Horton, I understand, Matt, interviewing with the Browns, but is still under contract with the Titans and has been talking extension with them, right?
That's as far as I understand. And, if we do get Ray Horton back here in Cleveland, I'd say it's a welcome addition. It's a guy who knows what he's doing on his side of the football. And he's a really smart guy, too. He's probably one of the smartest defensive coaches that we could get off the market right now. He's super intelligent. He's well-read. In addition to football, he actually does have a hobby. He likes to read Tom Clancy books, and he was pretty well shaken, actually, during one of those press conferences in 2013 after Clancy's passing. So he brings a lot more to the table than just being X's and O's. He's very intelligent, well-spoken, well-read, and he's one of those guys that I think really does get the best out of his players.
Right.
Joe Aiden was a Pro Bowler the first year under Ray Horton. Actually, the only year under Ray Horton, he was the first-time Pro Bowler that year. So there are a lot of positives for this team moving forward. Should Ray Horton accept the job as D coordinator?
Now, I guess the question is, okay, if he's already a defensive coordinator, that's a lateral move with the Titans. Now, in Tennessee, he gets to work with his mentor and good friend, the legendary Dick LeBeau. So I guess he has to figure out, all right, why would I want to leave that situation and come to the Browns? Lots of positivity around Cleveland right now, Matt. But again, if it's a lateral move and he's got a job, why leave? That's my question.
Well, the easy answer would be because he's out of Dick LeBeau's shadow. He may love the man as a person, but he also understands that this is his opportunity, again, to call his own defense rather than having, his mentor and his former coach be, in the building with him. It's one thing to have him as an assistant, but it's a completely other thing when everybody's saying, oh, it's just Dick LeBeau's defense and Ray Horton gets the title of DC. It's a completely different situation, and frankly, Ray Horton's earned the right to be a defensive coordinator in this league, and damn it if he's not earned the right to be a head coach. I think a couple of times over now he's at least shown that he deserves the opportunity to be interviewed, and he has been interviewed several times. I'm surprised somebody hasn't taken a look at him yet, but to me, going away from Dick LeBeau and proving that he can be a play caller on his own without his mentor overlooking his shoulder would be an opportunity for him to maybe make that next step that will help him become a head coach in this league sooner rather than later.
You're listening to the Doghouse, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns, presented by DraftPot.com. Go to DraftPot.com and the promo code, enter Browns. They'll match up to $300 of your first deposit. Terrific sports fantasy site daily. Football, basketball, hockey, whatever you want. DraftPot.com and promo code Browns. They'll match up to $300 for you. You can find the show also on iTunes. You can go on iHeartRadio. We have a free app for Android devices at the Google Play Store. Just type in the Doghouse, and of course on Spreaker.com. So, Matt, now Ray Horton here not that long ago, 2013, under the one and done season with Chud and Norv Turner. That year, I remember there was a lot of hype around Horton. He'd always have stats to back up his defense. In the end, it was certainly much better than anything we've seen the past 2 years here under Mike Pettin, and definitely this year. But it wasn't a perfect defense, I guess. Do you feel that the personnel that the Browns have now on the defensive side of the ball would suit what Ray Horton wants to do? Because it's a completely different vision of what Ray Farmer had compared to Sashi Brown and company.
The good thing for Ray Horton is he's inheriting a defense. If he comes to Cleveland, he's inheriting a defense with 3-4 alignment guys. They're not 4-3 guys that have to fit a 3-4. They are 3-4 guys, and he runs a somewhat variation of a 3-4. I think there's about 5 million. We've seen 4,999,998 of them in Cleveland since 1999. But the point is, I think he has a good base to build on, and I think Ray will get the most out of the guys that are on the roster. Now, does that mean Danny Shelton's going to go from a guy who just dives on a pile to a Pro Bowler? Likely not. It might take a year or two for him to get on the same program, but I believe that the talent is there. And if you keep a guy like Deshaun Gibson, Joe Hayden, you have half of your secondary returns Pro Bowl players. So the talent is there. That's good.
Right.
The bad thing is your linebacking core is awfully old, and it's getting older by the day. Carlos Dansby played great for us the last 2 years, but I think everybody would say that he's on the downslope of his career, and I don't think that can be argued. I would say Dante Whitner is nearing the end of the line, the standout safety, Pro Bowl safety. And pretty much everywhere he's been, he's played at a high caliber, but I think he's on the downslope. And I would say that Joe Hayden is starting to reach the point where in a year or two, he'll be on his downslope too. So there is some rebuilding to be done, and they do need a second cornerback to play opposite Hayden if they don't trade Hayden. So a lot needs to be done for Ray Horton to have the defense that he wants to have, I should say. That's how I would put it is, there are pieces in place, but there are a lot of pieces that still need to be added for the puzzle to get completed.
Well, I guess the one good thing that Browns fans can hope on, that if Hugh Jackson actually is allotted time, and the message we're hearing, it seems like Jimmy Haslam has learned his lesson. So if he's allotted time, and they have all those draft picks, I believe 11 this year, plus what you can do in free agency, with actual solid picks that are not party animals, that aren't guys who are heavy sleepers, Justin Gilbert, and miss meetings, who actually want to play football at a high level for a living, you might be able to turn this around faster with a vision that Ray Horton can help provide this staff and say, all right, these are the type of guys I need. Go get them for me. And we just have to hope they're not duds like a Randy Starks, for example, as a free agent hiring.
That's a whole lot of hoping.
What else
we're
can we
Cleveland,
do?
so hope is what we do about best in this town. It's one of those situations where, given the right set of circumstances, given the right players, Ray Horton could lead a successful defense. Mm-hmm. If you look at his numbers, they weren't glaringly awesome his first time around, but it was the best defensive year overall that the Browns had since coming back. It was the least amount of passing yards in any of the last 4 seasons, and it was the least amount of rushing yards. And I hope you're sitting down for this. Okay. It was the least amount of rushing yards, under 1,800. It was 1,700 and change that the Browns have allowed since 1994. The best defensive total against the run against the expansion era was under Ray Horton.
We are not going to know what to do if opposing running backs are not rushing for 100-plus yards. I'm not going to know what to do with myself. It's become so common. It's like a cup of coffee in the morning. Opposing running backs can rush for 100 yards over the Browns. It was a gimme in fantasy play. Daily fantasy league.
Well,
you just pick the
I
opposing
think that
running
was
back.
a running joke with us every
Yes.
game last year was, hey, if you need a running back,
Boom.
this guy's playing against the Browns this week, and it was a joke only in the fact that if it wasn't so damn true, it would be funny.
Yeah.
But it was the case more often than not. It was, if you picked up a running back off the street, you better make sure he's playing against Cleveland that week.
Sure. And now, okay, Matt. So Schwartz is gone officially to Philadelphia. Horton has interviewed. Who knows if he wants to leave or not? Is there any other viable option you're hearing for defensive coordinator? Because the worst thing I think, Matt, is we don't want to be left with a scrub, with a leftover for defensive coordinator, because that falls into the same type of line of what we're used to getting for a head coach, a leftover. Hugh Jackson needs to put all his effort on the offense. You need a guy who's been there, done that with a reliable defense, and really come in almost like a half head coach for the defense. Are you hearing any other names? Is there anybody you like?
I'm not hearing many names other than Ray Horton and Jim Schwartz. There was one name that I did hear who unfortunately just escaping me at the moment, but he signed elsewhere. So, I mean, you look at it, and it's the thinning of the herd, and the Browns really have to get the cracking on this coaching staff, because these guys have to sit in front of prospects in 3 weeks at the NFL Scouting Combine, and really next week, actually, at the Senior Bowl is when they get their first look at the senior guys. Now, granted, that is an all-star game, and only guys who have completed their eligibility can play in those things, so they're not going to get the top talent at the Senior Bowl, but they will at the Combine, and they have to start getting that staff rocking and rolling, because if they don't, they're going to miss valuable recruiting time in terms of the evaluation process. And that's one thing that time has taught us, is that the Browns are not good enough to miss evaluations and to still pick a roster that can compete on Sundays. I think they've shown that without question, the evaluation process is paramount to their success and or failure, and we've seen a hell of a lot more of the latter than we have the prior in recent years.
Well, Matt, the problem, though, with under Ray Horton and Mike Pettin was they felt they didn't have to go to those things. They had the resources. They didn't have to go out to them. So at least I hope this staff and Hugh Jackson feel the importance of, hey, actually maybe talking to your potential draft picks might have led you to better results than the garbage they've brought in overall, save a couple, the last couple of years. So okay, so we're up in the air over the defensive coordinator. I'm crossing my fingers for Ray Horton, because like you said, the thinning of the herd. I don't think there's that many options there. So Matt, you also have the East-West Shrine game. You said the Senior Bowl, the Combine. That brings us to our part one of our quarterback draft class analysis for the Browns. Hugh Jackson, as I said earlier, has come out and said, we need a quarterback. We need someone strong leadership. We need someone with a big arm. We need someone who can play in the AFC North. None of those things say Johnny Football. And he mentioned that Josh McCown, great guy, getting a little old. I like how upfront he is. So what we'll do over the next several weeks is we'll touch on different position groups, but come back to the quarterback class. We'll begin with the top two prospects ranked in the draft. Now, Matt, I don't know where you go. I like the breakdown on CBSSports.com. I like the ranking. I like how they kind of can explain things, but you can go a multitude of places. The top two ranked draft picks at quarterback: Jared Goff out of California, a junior, 6'4", 210 pounds. Second ranked, Paxton Lynch out of Memphis, a redshirt junior, 6'6", 230 pounds. Let's begin with those two. Let's start with Paxton Lynch out of Memphis. We gotta love the size, at least.
Yeah, you absolutely love the size, because it reminds you of Ben Roethlisberger. Truthfully, a small school kid that maybe was overlooked, or maybe wanted to play they wanted him to play a different position. I'm not sure how his recruiting process went, but he's got the body type to play in the AFC North division, and he'd be a welcomed addition. You look at the stats, and they're pretty good. Maybe a little bit raw talent-wise, but hell, anybody at this point the Browns get will be raw talent-wise, so he'll fit right in, and maybe could use another year of polish, but he's definitely not going